share this thing out. So lastly too, so talking about directs, this is important. So understand the difference because I'll be even be honest too. Some of those times I had even forgot because it's been a little bit since we had a big direct initiative. So the first thing we got to remember is if I write inside of a payroll group, right? If I write group, what's going to happen is that business. Bobby's up here. Just STD is GI and everyone up to 4K. Yeah, thanks, Bobby. It's great point. But what the reality is, you got to answer some of the questions though. So you got to get the people in there. So they just went in up saying, hey, nope, got to do the. They didn't want to answer the health question. Just went right for GI, and it's getting held up. So unless you got any feedback there, because it's Shirley's working on it right now, and it's she's saying they got to go to paper. So, but back to the direct. So for most of us, again, we're used to we write business issues, we're paid the next day, right? So when we write a direct app, right? So if we write go out and write an individual, somebody off Facebook, a friend, family member, we're trying to get some quick pay, business in the Everwell. What happens is first off, it goes through pended, just the exact same process, right? But one of the biggest difference is obviously where is it being deducted from, right? So if it's a traditional payroll account, obviously it's being deducted out of their paycheck. They know the money's coming, they're good to go. With directs, it's being deducted right out of their paycheck, their bank account. And so what we're asked to do then is what draft date do we want it to be? And so that draft date, what if Catherine, good. Oh, you're good. Just hang up your cell phone. You're good. I got you. I got you. So when we select the draft date, right? So whatever day that we select these apps want to issue, they're going to pull from their bank account, whatever that date is, basically add 10 days from that because that's when our side will issue. Because essentially what happens is Aflac's got to recognize that yes, this was drafted. The bank and Aflac have to communicate, and it basically says Aflac basically says, hey, listen, it's going to take 10 days. So essentially, we're talking, every time we write business on direct, it's at least 2 weeks out, from your actual draft
Minimum.
date.
And
Minimum,
if it's a
minimum.
life policy, expect it to take way longer
Yep.
because
And
not only do you have to wait for the draft, but before the draft even happens, you have to wait for their medical history to come back, then
not true,
approve.
not true actually. So they'll actually draft. They'll draft. I've become an expert in this lately. So the Life app will actually still draft. It'll still pull from their bank account. It still won't issue on our end. It's got to clear the
Okay,
underwriting.
so it still
Yep.
takes extra time though because it doesn't issue on our end yet.
Oh
Because
yeah,
I've had,
absolutely. But so that's what's sometimes wild. If I got somebody who's really unhealthy and they're trying to jam it in, it'll still draft from them. And then let's just say for some reason that person doesn't clear underwriting, they'll then get refunded back. So that's just something that they're not aware of. But because we've had life apps that don't pass underwriting, right? Because we do have our underwriting is strict, and that's just the reality. If you've got anybody that is, the BMI ratio, right? The height to weight ratio is way off. I mean, it's tough, right? And there's a reason for it because I mean we're just so simple to get, right? Now, a lot of times we're not doing bringing in a nurse or blood work or anything like that. We're just a couple health questions. So, and the last reality is because that is such a manual process. I actually didn't know this, but inside a Field Force Services, if you go into the Selling Aflac and look at the underwriting guidelines, there's actually a chart that Aflac updates daily, and it'll show you what day they're working on as far as life apps, and they're about 3 weeks behind right now, right? Because they're just getting flooded with apps. So just something to be aware of. If you're like, hey, I need cash and I need to write a direct real quick, it's not faster, right? Like out there, not set up a payroll account, you'll get paid so much faster. So just be aware of that. We don't spend a ton of time talking about directs, and so I thought it'd be good just to bring it up, just because I know some of you are like, hey, what's taking so long? It's nothing's wrong. It's just a process, right? It's just a little bit slower. So with that being said, real quick, I do want to introduce Mr. Colby on here today because we've got a new face. Actually came to us from Georgia South. Georgia South was trying to hire somebody that was literally up here in Atlanta. So Colby, if you don't mind, who in the world are you and what's your background?
Hey guys, Colby. Well, I'm originally from Albany. Got into Aflac through Jenny Gates. um,
Albany,
Georgia.
Georgia. Okay. I'm like, which Albany?
Yeah, not the cool one. But got into Aflac from Jenny. I was with Country before this, and then State Farm before that. So I've been in insurance now, going on 2.5 years.
Yeah. So some people aren't familiar. I mean, a lot of us are familiar with State Farm. What is when you say country? What is that exactly?
So Country Financial,
Yep.
and they do a lot of uh, their big niche is like business insurance. But they do everything from PNC, life and health, um, to financial planning and retirement planning.
It's awesome. It's awesome. So you're out there marketing small businesses all day long. Yep.
Right.
Yep. Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, excited to have you, man. I mean, obviously we overlap that big time, and so this would be an easy transition into what you've been doing, to really where we're at now. So as we transition a little bit and we look at today now. So as a lot of you have been hearing about this, we've been kind of doing some teasers on our Mondays and Fridays. The day is kind of it's here, right? So today we're gonna talk about I want to call it the new service, because everything in me wants to say it's brand new. This is the furthest from new, right? So this has been around for a long time. Our market was just slow to adopt it. And candidly, our leadership, we just never even heard of it, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to learn a lot about this service called Get Hired. Okay, so what this is, and as we start to learn about how to use this, and first thing I want to tell people is like this is not a shiny new toy like that. This thing's pretty slick. I think this could be really a game changer for us, and why that is because, as we've talked about time and time again, how many businesses out there hiring right now? Right? All of them, right? How many are hiring right now? A lot
None.
of them.
Everybody's fully staffed.
Everybody's
Well,
fine.
yeah, exactly,
All the
right?
restaurants are open, full staffed, everyone's fine.
So a couple of the stats to think about here, right? And I think I'd mentioned it before, but I want to kind of kick it off with this. So, we've got, I think the last number is, between 3 and 5. So I've heard even upwards of 7 million people in unemployment at the time being right now. The Department of Labor is projecting that 70% of those employees will be hired in the next 3 months, right? So we're going to have a massive wave of people being hired and going back in to the job force, right? They're going to be coming back to their jobs, and a lot of that actually is going to end, with this unemployment bonus is actually ending next Wednesday, right? That's why this is really crucial timing as far as when a lot of this can be super relevant as these companies finally start to find people. So the first thing is we're going to talk through is ultimately what is Get Hired and what do they do? And so everything about this today is revolve around the term WOTC, right? WOTC, Work Opportunity Tax Credit. Okay, and so I'm going to share a bunch of screens today. It's probably take about an hour, and we're gonna go through. But please, again, the districts and we've sat through probably 3 hours of this training, and so this week alone, I want to give you guys ultimately some of the bullet points and just give you an understanding, and also I want to show you, where to go for some resources, and because what I want you all to do is we got to be able to take some ownership to as well, and just I want you all to start familiarizing yourself with what does this stuff even mean? Because we were joking earlier about, okay, what is, the dental and how many trainings we've done on that. There's a little bit to it, right? So this is going to be a little bit more streamlined and you're going to be able to understand a little better. So just for starters, I want to show you, I'm literally just going to go in, I'm you guys, I'm Brandon, I'm like, he just said the word WOTC, what WOTC, what does that mean? So Work Opportunity Tax Credit. Right, so this is a federal tax credit available to employers to hire individuals with certain targeted groups. For example, people that may be on food stamps, people that were veterans, maybe people that were on unemployment for some extended period of time. Essentially, this is a federal tax credit that has been in place since 1996. Okay. And the reality is, a lot of the big box stores, your Walmarts and Costco's, they live on this all day long, right? They're very aware of it, and they try and take advantage as much as possible. The sad reality is the vast majority of the small businesses out there have no idea what it is, okay? And so the system that we're going to be talking about today mostly is this company here. It's called Get Hired. So what I want you guys to do, and if you guys want to go to it right this second, there's not much you can do right at the moment. But if we just want to go ahead and go to this website, brokers.gethired.com. Okay. So if we all just want to take a quick second, we'll go to brokers.gethired.com. And when you get there, all you're going to do is you're going to click on, you're going to register as a new human. Absolutely make sure, for starters, that you've got to use your Aflac email, okay? And so, and the reason why this is, and this is something that people didn't realize, is so this partnership actually started up in the Northeast. This came out of Pennsylvania, and this thing has been, and I'll give you a couple stats from the other markets. We Pennsylvania, right? Another market up north, not nearly as big as us. Last year, during the pandemic, they wrote over $1.5 million worth of premium just by talking about this program. Okay. A region, right, just like us, right, small region up in Tennessee has opened 40 new groups this year alone from this service. Okay, so if anybody is like, if I'm hearing anything, it's a great way to not only open the door, to acquire new groups, to write a bunch of business, right? So what we'll do then, so once you guys go in here and you register, type your name, your email, everything, what happens is Get Hired, the guy there that runs it, that we're going to interact with the most, his name is Matt. He's going to basically process and approve you. And so once you all get access, we're going to go, you'll be in this system. And so the only thing that I want to show you guys from this system today, that I challenge you all, because he'll probably approve you within the next 30 minutes. He's super quick. But there's 4 videos on this dashboard, excuse me. Take a second, this weekend, and just start to familiarize yourself, with these videos, right? This last one right here, this Get Hired webinar, this one is substantial. It's super long. It's very detailed. There's a lot of good information in this thing. But if for any of you that are on, social media and you want to do some sharing, the top 3, and really, I guess I'd say these top 2 are great for sharing out, right? They're a minute to 2 minutes. They're super short, easy to drop in, right? Do not, and again, I've been asked, the district has been asked, and I'm sure they'll probably pull it because we're opening the floodgates. Just please make sure we're not sharing this bottom one out on social media, just because it's so substantial, and it actually talks about some of their clients' personal stuff. So it's strictly on there for a training purpose. So make sure we're not sharing that one out. So just a little fun facts there. So, but the last piece, and we're going to go through all this today, is down here in the bottom. Because I know one of the questions that I immediately asked, because I was like, hey, listen, I'm starting to kind of understand the service. Do we have any kind of marketing materials? They got a ton, right? So there are 3, 6, 9, there's 10 different marketing materials on here. And what's fancy about this, will make our life super easy, is all you do is you type in your name, phone number, and email, hit submit, and it's going to go ahead and pre-populate every one of these forms for you. And so that you'll then have the ability to distribute those out. And so once you do that, I've already got a bunch of them pulled up. So we're going to kind of walk through a couple of these. We're going to look at some of their, some of their services and really what exactly they're doing. So for starters, right? So as we're going to go into this one right here. So essentially, right, to kind of ease into this thing, is think of Get Hired as finally having a true HR assistance like system that we can put in place for a small business to not only help them find people, but then also recommend them candidates that are then eligible for that tax credit. And then on the back end, we're actually going to help them administer it, track their hours, and use it as an onboarding tool, right? So this thing's freaking cool for a small business, right? So literally, and that's when we start looking at, like, in most companies, they're paying for Indeed, which, again, I've used Indeed a bunch. We've got LinkedIn, Juju, Facebook, Twitter, Glassdoor. Like, this Get Hired system is immediately, first off, a service that we could provide to all of our clients to immediately be able to hit submit and get their job posting out on 5 major areas, right, with the click of a button. So for a small business who's looking to get the word out and they're trying to streamline the process, immediately going to make their lives so much easier. And again, as I already know, Indeed and ZipRecruiter, like, they're not cheap for small business to continually be funding and putting out their names, trying to get some applicants. And so just by working with us, they're going to get all of this at no cost. Okay. The next thing there, there's even ways for them to set up, in a recruiting standpoint, you can do optional, video submission. They can do pre-interview questions, and so the applicant hops on there and basically has to, go through a preliminary, virtual virtual interview without even, so it has a very automated system behind it. And then really where the main, nuts and bolts of this and why this is so valuable is this system, and again, this is the only system out there today, and that's why it's so popular, is this system will actually, it pre-qualifies the applicants, and it actually tells the owner, hey, so if I'm hiring and I'm looking at John and I'm looking at Colby, it's going to have a little $ next to John and basically say, hey, John's been, on food stamps or he's been on unemployment, and if you hire John, minimum $2,400 tax credit. Thanks so much for hiring John. Here's $2,400. Go, right? So if I'm you all and I'm thinking strategically, my first question for anywhere, if I walk into a small business, I just go, first off, have you ever heard of WOTC? And they're gonna look at you like you have a third head, and they're gonna be like, what's that mean? And I'm like, do you have anything in place right now that's gonna pay you to hire people? And again, they're gonna say, what are you talking about? Well, what if we could provide a service that would not only help you find people, but then actually give you tax credits to hire them? That's essentially what Get Hired does now. And so it'll walk them through, show them the best candidates, help them pre-select them, and then it'll even have the ability to run background checks, electronically onboard. They can sign their W-4s, 1099s, I-9s, all of them right there from the system. And then what's really awesome as we start going through some of these flyers, these marketing materials, as soon as they hire someone, one of the best things about this system is that you all, right? So this is where the value of the system itself is, and this is why I think people are going to enjoy this, is so right now a lot of you guys have new groups, right? How often, as we know people get hired all the time, how often or who, better yet, who has a phenomenal new hire strategy to where that owner calls you as soon as they hire somebody every single time? Not very many of us.
But they don't actually call. They think they're going to call, and then they don't call. And then they call you at the last minute, and they're like, wait, we need this by 9/1. Oh, it's Wednesday the week before. Fantastic. And Janice, how's that going, reaching out to that employee at the last minute?
Yep.
Not great.
He's like, oh, hold on, let me get my mute button.
Not great. Thank you, Cyan. You call the contact person in charge. You text the employee because you don't have phone numbers. They didn't provide phone numbers. So it's just an ongoing thing. And yes, you have a deadline for Tuesday to get these people in for Wednesday.
Yep. It's stressful.
He just added the phone numbers, by the way, this morning, just FYI.
Yep. So again, as Colby, as you sort of hear some of this stuff, and today is quite the training to jump onto as your first one. Um, this system is going to literally email you every single time they hire somebody. The clock's going to get set, and then as far as whatever their waiting period is, where it's 30, 60, 90 days, and as soon as they're eligible, you'll get another email. So this thing will literally do everything for the HR team and yourself, and you'll literally start getting notifications. Oh, ABC Plumbing just hired somebody, and what's cool is then we could actually see if they got the tax credit. And I mean, shoot, because I mean, think about the value. We have a client up in Tennessee we were talking about this last week as well. A small little construction company. In the first 3 months with this service, that company has already received over $12,000 in tax credits just for hiring a couple people. I mean, you talk about a small business trying to help them out and really being a true consultant. That's crazy, right? So to look at and review, some of the people, right? And this is where, obviously some of these are, case by case scenarios of who they're really looking for. So anybody who has been on SNAP, right? Food stamps. Fun fact about food stamps as of lately, since COVID, food stamps enrollment has gone up by 300%. Okay? Which again, I mean, it's brutal that we got people on it, and we're obviously glad that they're being taken care of. But here's the reality: is what that basically means is employers have more opportunity to find somebody that's been going through that. And what's wild is it's actually being so broad now because literally the tax credits are wanting to help everybody. It doesn't even actually have to be that human, right? It could be somebody in their family who has been on food stamps too. Right? So anybody that's gone through food stamps, we've got you. Veterans, right? I know veterans is going to be a big hot topic right now, especially what's going on in the world, trying to help them out. If I hire a veteran, so out of all of them, actually, I'll go ahead and skip to the next one. I think there's one that'll show you. Here we go. Nope, doesn't show that one. I got a PowerPoint as well.
So while he's looking for this, I'll just share a little story. So I was working as a personal assistant for a couple of years, but they paid me cash off the books, right? So technically, I was unemployed. Technically. And so when I got hired at my new job, I didn't even know at first that they were looking at me because of this. And then afterwards, they had asked me a couple questions, and it wasn't until years later when I was working for another company that I realized that they were utilizing this WOTC tax credit. And now looking back, I'm like, oh, that makes sense. That's why they were asking me all those questions. So it definitely works, and people will hire based on this.
Yep. So here we go. So as a look at all the people, right? So across the board from, veterans, which again are the big ticket item. Right, it's something which is cool that the government wants to help out the most. Is hey, if they've served, they're giving up to over $9,000 to hire a veteran. But if you start looking down here, food stamps, people that are on long-term unemployment, which again, there's only been a couple people that have been going through that lately. Ex-felons, and so this is where obviously, if we're looking at certain companies, right, we start to strategize, right. I'm probably not going to lead with the ex-felon hiring at a daycare service, right. But again, it's just a reality. You got to start thinking about what type of business would benefit from this the most. And so if I'm meeting with any company, and this is some of the discovery questions that I'm writing down, I'm already thinking about, and just as judge the book by its cover. Hands down, the most popular companies that are using this, blue collar through and through, right? Construction, plumbing, roofing, all day long, right? Do you guys hire more than 5 people a year, right? Yes. I've got an awesome system we can put in place today to help you, drive money back in the business for finding good people, right? So anytime in the blue collar industry, this thing could be huge. Another big industry that some of you guys have worked on, I know as of recently there with Cyan, is and this is just literally, we had on a district earlier this week, joined on our leadership call. He's literally targeting home health care, right? Skilled nursing facilities, people that are helping out with old people. The reality about that business, right? And this is some of the challenges too, because we want to talk through this. If those types of industries, right? Restaurants, home health care, trucking, sometimes because of that type of business, it's a little bit of there's some turnover, right? We gotta say this. We gotta say this part out loud. So this is really designed there to help them find people and make sure they want to stick around, right? So if I'm talking to any client really, and that is I'm looking for a trigger that's going to say, holy cow, I've got something for you, is anybody that is constantly hiring, because we've got a cool service for you. So what we'll do, and that's why what's cool though, is basically minimum, if I'm writing down anything, minimum $2,400 just to hire somebody. But if they're a veteran, what happens is they can stack them, and they're able to really stack up this company and go up to over $9,600, right? So let's just go from this PowerPoint. We're gonna walk through this thing. We'll take our time, and then obviously at the very end we got any questions. So obviously we'll go to the next one. So as far as Get Hired itself, obviously this company was founded back in 2012, so it's been around for a little while. It's from out there in Northern California, and basically it's a combination of a hiring resource, an onboarding resource, and ultimately a tax screening and processing. So another good, fun fact for you guys to start realizing how this works. So a lot of CPAs out there have recognized that this is substantial income in this. And so if you ever do run across a small company that heaven forbid they did say, hey, you know what, I do know what that is, right? I'm very familiar with WOTC. The challenge is there is a lot of tracking and reporting that's tied to it. That's why a lot of times CPAs will push this, because then what they'll do is if a small business does find someone, they charge administrative fees to do that. Matt that was on our call, they said on average between $4, $5, $6, sometimes $1,000 to track and maintain this, right? So this system is going to do it all for them at no cost. And so as we look at some of the key features, obviously what's going to be nice for the HR perspective is they're able to filter down, show that the most qualified people, the interview, the onboarding system. There's some really good systems inside the platform itself. But to give you a better understanding, and this is where I think it's important for us to do our own research as well, because one thing that we're going to do is we'll get asked some questions about this, and we're going to have different questions that we're not familiar with, is take a second and go to the irs.gov and just go ahead and type in that work opportunity tax credit, and you're going to get a ton of resources back. So, but just for some of the baselines, again, this thing is not new. It's been around since '96, and it's actually just got extended, and they're trying to make it permanent. So this was something they put in place, back in the late '90s to trying to help, and it's just been going ever since. Tax credit is for new hires only, and they must be filed within the first 28 days of their start date. This had already actually is pretty wild. This already came up yesterday, right? I got off the call, and I was pretty fired up, and I called a small construction company up north, and literally the owner, she gets on the call and she goes, holy cow, she goes, I just hired 4 people last week. And I was like, wow. And she's like, can I use this on them? Like maybe see if they'll qualify? And if they do qualify, the answer is yes. We've just got to be able to get them in the system within the first 28 days of actually get hired. And that's where the administrative side of this get hired will work. The credits will be carried, forward. 20 to 25% of hourly workers on WOTC program, the vast majority of them aren't actually taking advantage of the credits, yet over $1 billion awarded every year. $1 billion of tax credits are given out every year, but only a quarter of the people are taking advantage of it. That's madness, right? So these businesses are leaving so much money on the table because they don't have the systems in place to track it and log it and get the stuff in place. So as again we've talked through, what are the people costs, right? What are they looking for? I think at the end of the day we're just helping these people that have been out of work, they need help, they're trying to get rehabilitated, and they're getting back in the workforce. Which again, they've got a massive population of people that have been in just this category here. So look at it this way, right? And this is what's wild. And you start thinking about the amount of money and the amount of tax credit savings per year. If I'm talking with a small company, then they hire 5 a year, literally 12,000 per year minimum, right? That's at 2,400. That's the lowest it'd be. You throw in a couple of veterans, this thing could get insane, right? They hire 15 a year. You're talking, just shy of $40,000, right? And I don't even know the answer to this question though, but Cyan, I know you guys have been dealing with that in-home healthcare company. How many do you think they hire a year?
I'm sorry. I was reading an email from a broker.
You're good. That in-home healthcare up there in Canada. How many do you think they hire a year?
Okay, so the one up north in Cartersville, they probably go through at least 30 new people a year. The one out in Marietta, they dropped last year from 150 employees to only about 70, so they are looking to double in size. Yeah, there's a lot of places out there like that. So, yeah.
Right. So we walk in with a lot of strategies sometime, and we talk about reducing workers' comp or reducing their turnover, right? But this could be something that could literally go directly to the bottom line and say, here, I could literally put $2,400 back into the business if we fire the right person. You find 5 of them, this thing gets silly. So what we'll do, and this is just something that again, I'm open to, and we can get hired on here to do a demo. That's really what Get Hired does, and they'll be gladly do a demo for us. What I encourage first, just because again they do take a while, is a lot of what they cover is on the videos, and so they can definitely walk you through the demo itself, but the video on the platform, I'll show you guys here in a second again, it has a lot of what they cover. And so, but they kind of put into, basically who is, their target audience. They look for, planning to hire W-2 employees in 2020. They really think, companies with 20 plus or more, or people that are really growing. On our call, they were even saying, hey, I don't even care if they've got 10 people and they're hiring and they need to find 3, 4, 5 people in the next year, this could be a resource. And so that's why I want to be clear, right? That, this isn't really a one size fits all. It's not for everybody, and it's not, right? If I'm meeting with, a small, law firm or anything like that, that's, hey, we've got 5 people, it's the same 5 people forever, probably not a good fit. But you start looking at some of these industries right here, right? Restaurants, construction, hospitality, manufacturing, retail, cleaning, janitorial services, right? This would be a great industry for that. And then of course, obviously your in-home healthcare, which is your low-hanging fruit. So these industries, I mean, if I'm you all and I'm looking for an awesome marketing strategy to be able to get out there, I'd be searching every one of these companies here in my area as far as that are fall into these categories. I mean, I'd be leading with this, because it's a great door opener. So as again, we went to the Get Hired. If you haven't do it yet, obviously you'll go to the brokers.gethired.com. You'll punch in your information, use your Aflac email, and then you'll get processed and approved to get in here. So what is next then, right? So and I'm gonna pause there for a second, right? So this is where as sometimes, and again, we're not as used to and really understand the process now is how's this, like, what do we do, right? I got a client, I think this would be a good fit. What do I do? All right. So first off, John's the owner. I'm out there meeting with them, and John's like, I'm super interested. Like, yeah, how do I? So what we do is it's going to be a 2-step close now. Right. So what we'll do is we're going to immediately go on to our Get Hired system. And what you'll see, actually, once you get in, there is an opportunity where you can click on to schedule a demo. And that demo, as I'll show you right here, this is not necessarily just for you. What it is if I'm meeting with ABC Plumbing, I'm like, holy cow, I just logged in to the Get Hired. I'm like, yep, let's do this. What we do is we schedule a demo, and we say, hey, we want to do this for ABC Plumbing. And it's, as far as what is it, a client or prospect, they've got one location, they've got 15 employees, 12 employees. Do they have any system in place? Nope. And are they currently using or taking advantage of WOTC? No, right? Submit. And then what it'll do is this essentially is just like Calendly for them. It'll pull up their calendar, and then what'll happen is you're going to get an email back, and then you're going to have to work with the owner and say, hey, let's schedule some time, and we'll do a demo together and see if this ultimately good fit. And that's where Matt and his team will then join in, and you guys have to set up a time with the owner and get hired. Okay? Here's the exciting part. Matt is, spent almost 15 years with Aflac. He was a region, he was a district, he was an agent. He came from Aflac. This service that we provide, that we fund at 100%, right? Literally, this thing will cost nothing to the business. They only get it through Aflac. No other company out there provides this, which is really free. So it doesn't matter if they go to Country Financial, Colonial Life, Allstate, Transamerica, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter where anybody wanted to go. They only have an exclusive partnership with Aflac, which is huge, right? So when we do this demo, Matt gets it, and he's actually a pretty sharp guy. He's really freaking smart. He then sets up the demo, and he is constantly selling it for us, and he tells us that he has about an 80% close ratio once we get him on the demo, which is substantial. I mean, obviously, I'll take those odds all day long. So basically, he's saying, hey, if you can get me in front of a demo with an owner, I'll make sure it's sold. Because he's really going to basically juice it up and tell them how awesome it is. And the whole time, because I know one of the first questions we all were asking is, let's just say I'm an owner out there and I want to get hired. I don't want Aflac. What's it going to cost me? It's almost up to $6,000 a year to buy this service. Up to $6,000 just to buy it. And then after that, the administrative fees kick in. Right now, today, if you're on Get Hired and you don't utilize it through Aflac, they charge you $299, so $300, just to submit that they hired somebody that's qualifying for that tax credit. In 30 days, they're adjusting the rates, and now it's going up to $400. So think about that, right? And that's how substantial this service is. They're literally saying, hey, if you want it, it's going to cost you several $1,000s a year to maintain it. And then every time you hire somebody, it's going to cost you $400 to file it and administer it. And the whole time he's going to say, but here's the deal. Just because you're working with Catherine, she's funding this for you. She's going to pay for this 100% for you and your business. You should be extremely excited to be able to work with her. And it's pretty cool partnership. And that's how Matt talks. And so he's really working with you because it's in his best interest. He wants to get it. And here's what's the setup process. And this is where it's kind of nice because I know some of you have had new groups where you're like, hey, if we're putting in a value added service, we got to meet with everybody, or we got to meet with at least 3/4 of you, 75% or more. If we do this, we've got to sit down and educate 100% of your staff. Mandatory. I've got to sit down and meet with every single one of your employees, and they either got to sign up for Aflac or I got to get a waiver. One of the two. And what's awesome is obviously, a lot of times we try and shoot for that, but I know for a fact we're not always getting that, right? Oh, they're busy. Oh, they told me they're not interested. Doesn't matter. Do you want this service? Do you want all this value to provide you? I got to get a census. I got to meet with every single one of you, and they're going to sign up or going to waive. Mandatory education, voluntary participation. Right? So I want to pause there, and again, I know I try to cover a lot, but I give you at least kind of the baseline of what does this thing do. Any comments, questions, feedback, everything we've covered so far?
So do they still get the value added service, or this is in place of like the telemed?
Good, great question. Yes. So this does not take the place of any value add or any other service we do right now. So this is something in addition to. So you could literally now lead with, I've got a true onboarding hiring system and a value add I can put in place next to it. Great question. Anybody else?
What about existing clients that we have that we know that are hiring, that need to ramp up? Can we go ahead and also introduce this service to them?
Yep. So we can put we can put this in any new clients, existing clients, or a client that's been referred in through a broker. Any client right now is eligible. Good question.
I know you said we have until next Wednesday. What happens to the program after that?
Say that again.
I thought you said early in the call that we had until next Wednesday to go out and talk to prospects and clients about this.
No. So all next Wednesday is that next Wednesday the 1st is when unemployment incentive ends, right? So reason why that's such good timing for us is, again, unemployment is essentially running out. So everybody that's been sitting on the sidelines and waiting and waiting and waiting, that's going to stop. That's no more. So we know basically from that point, cash is going to run out within 30 days, and they're going to start looking for jobs big time. So that's why we're going to have this huge wave of people entering back into the workforce. And again, one of the first things that they look at is to see if they qualify is, has this human been on unemployment for an extended period of time? Well, the vast majority of this population has been. So literally almost every single person they hire is worth $2,400 to that business, which is a big deal. That's why the 1st is so important, Nikki. But this service isn't stopping anything, right? It's just about the timing. It just coincidentally is next week.
Okay, so we'll still be able to talk to future clients about it if they still have trouble with hiring after this point.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. And what's crazy too, and why this is so, what we start hearing some of these success stories is, we had the call, the one on Wednesday we had this week. We were saying, because again, when you get Matt on here, he'll talk for an hour and a half just about specifically the demo and how it works. I want to hear more of the bullet points. And so we're like, hey, do you have any good success stories? And he's like, oh, how many do you need? Right? He's like, I got one for you right now. So we looked at last year during Q2, last year, right in the heart of the pandemic, right? In the whole entire state of Iowa, there was one associate in the entire state that hit their VIP bonus, right? Only one. She was out there talking to a construction company and had brought this up, started talking about it. Got on the demo. They had 40 employees. The DM went very average, he said. It was just a very average group. They were set her up in the break room. Only we're going to see the office managers, and that was it. Didn't want to have any access to the field just because of COVID and everything that was going on. And she brought this up. They did the demo, and literally they're like, so you're just going to see everybody? I'll make this happen this week. And he goes, and what we'll do is we're going to pull out Allstate. And literally they both looked at each other and they're like, Allstate? They didn't even know they had Allstate in there, but there was so much value to the company. They're like, oh yeah, we'll cancel all that. Done. You're coming in. She wrote $45,000 that next week, hit our VIP and maxed out all our bonuses. And she literally said it wouldn't have happened without Get Hired. Right? So just the amount of resource it provides to these from an HR perspective, it's going to help their lives when it comes to administration. From an owner's perspective, they're just seeing dollar signs. They can save money, right? So it's a good resource from both sides, whether it's from an administrative standpoint or strictly a revenue standpoint. What else?
How quickly can you implement it?
Good. So, great question. Let me go back to the website. So, what's wild, and this is, I think all of us, we had to see this, and we almost were like, so it's that easy? And they're like, yeah, it's really easy. So, just to prove it, I'll show you exactly what we do. So let's just say, we get we do the AAOD call this today, right? Brand new client. My internet's not working, so I can't do that. We open up a brand new client today, right? And most of us are used to, okay, we go into Everwell, we create the group, we set up the portal, they get them logged in, like a little bit of a setup time, goes in effect on the first, right? If it's a value add, right? Like if I enroll everybody in telemedicine, it's not going to go into like the first week of the following month. Like there's always some kind of setup process. So we get the group today, right? Wesley's at a new enrollment right now. That's why I wasn't on here this morning. He does the AAOD call, does the welcome call, and Affleck says, here you go. Do you want the new account number text to you? And you go, yeah, that'd be great. You literally go, okay, cool. You come up here when you first log into step one. You do add client. You type in the group number, company name, first name, last name, email, phone number. You talk about, is this a new group? You talk about, it's a traditional enrollment renewal date today, their email, and then this is where you type in your stuff. It'll pre-populate everything so that then every time they hire someone, you get the text and email. And then this already pre-populates the invitation that's going to be now sent to that client, right? So that's why when you type it in, John Nissan, Jimmy Johns, here's his phone or email, hit submit. They literally get an email right there on the spot. They click accept. They log in. It's live. It's that fast. They could literally immediately go in, clicks, copy and paste over, their posting that they've had on Indeed or wherever, copy it over, throw it in there, and they're good to go. Literally live that same day. So for somebody who's like, hey, I need to find people now, I'm like, so simple, right? You're good to go, right? So it's slick, right? So why I feel confident in this and why I think for all of us today, why we can wrap our head around this pretty quickly is, and we were weighing this out, how to roll this thing out, is, with the dental, the vision, everything that we've been doing so much training on, we've got to be the expert on it. We've got to be, the expert. We got to know how to sell it. We got to talk through it. Here's the deal, y'all. This is really not that complicated. It's here's a awesome value add, and we're going to talk about cost here in a second now, that I would be branding all day long about. This is something that me as an owner and as you guys will be speaking to, like as my agency, we're all agency owners here today, right? I invested and I'm paying for. This is something I went out and want to do, and I provide to all my clients that need it. I went out and I found this specifically for you. That's why I'm here today. Thought you'd be a great fit. And that's what we're here for. And so all we got to do is, I think you'd be a good fit. Do you have anybody they're hiring? Do you have a system to track this? Do you have any? And they're going to look at you and be like, no, I don't have any of that. Cool. Let's set up a demo. I'm gonna have my partner jump on, Matt. He's gonna walk you through the entire thing. And at the end of that call, if it makes sense, we'll walk through the enrollment process. Done. That's it. And so, Matt, you don't have to be the expert on the Get Hired platform. You don't have to be the expert on how do they onboard, none of it, right? Literally, the Get Hired team will take care of all of it for us. And I think that's what's encouraging for us, is it's not an entire new bucket that I got to understand and be able to. No. Can we walk into a small business and say, hey, do you have anything in place right now today to help you hire somebody? No idea what we're talking about. Have you ever heard of WOTC? What does that mean? Perfect. Let's chat. I want to ask you some questions. If so, let's set up a demo. They'll take care of everything. Really pretty basic. And so what's cool now is, once they do that, it sets up, what it's done, and that's what was pretty crazy, is you start to hear from these other districts, and there is an agent right now, brand new agent. She started 6 months ago. She's 11 weeks ahead on her Triple Crown series. Say that again. Think about that. So she started 6 months ago. She's 3 months ahead of all of her Triple Crown bonuses right now. And she literally goes, because of this system. All I do is I walk in. I literally, first thing I talk about is hiring. Do you have anything in place? They look at me like I'm crazy, and I say, I've got you. And it's just one after another after another. Okay? I wish we'd known about it sooner, but I'm glad we got it now, better than ever. Right? So a lot of value here for us, and it's something we can do today. Okay? So the last piece now, and this is where, again, people start realizing like, oh, so where's the catch? What's it cost? Here's the reality. What do we got? What do we do? Crazy is total, right? For you guys to do this thing, cost you 5 points. That's it. 5 points off of your commission on every person that you write. They actually get built in to the comp structure, just like it would be with a broker, and they take a little piece of it. That's it, right? If it's an existing group, they take less, right? They take like 3.5, 4 points. If it's a brokered account, they take even less, right? So that's why a lot of people that are like, oh man, if we're worried over that, this isn't for us. We're not in the right mindset, right? This is a true service now that we can provide that ultimately it's going to require and mandate us to sit down with every single person, which is where I'm going to write so much more business. So for me, as far as the cost, it a little bit comes from you, a little bit comes from your district, a little bit comes from me. For me, I'll pay it all day long to guarantee we're sitting with every single person, right? Because at the end of the day, and I think as some of you quickly start to realize this, right? I know, John, you've been going through some virtual call centers, right? Hey, I supposed to have a meeting today. Are you there? What's going on? I missed you. Let's reschedule. Oh, they're not interested. Okay, cross them off. I'm tired of calling them, right? Nikki's driving from Dublin to Peachtree City right now just to try and get how much money they make to write off. Like we'll drive and we'll call. We'll spend hours trying to just to make sure we sit with one person. And half the time we're like, it's too much work. Just declined. I'm good, right? If you get an owner that's like, yeah, you need to see everybody, and I know that. Let's set up a meeting. We'll be there. We'll take care of everything, right? So it's going to help drive the conditions, which is everything in this business. Because if we're not sitting with them, I know we're typically not writing them, right? So
if it didn't happen on social media and there wasn't a picture, it didn't happen. If we didn't sit with them, we're not writing them. Same thing.
Exactly. So, so lastly, and this is what I figured would be the easiest, is what we can do is if I'm you all, I'm getting on, and again, we went through pretty much every one of these flyers that they have in here. Some are better than others. I really like these two flyers, and we can share them up on GroupMe right now for you guys if you need them. But what the reality is if you can go in and register on the broker platform, you'll be able to customize this so your name and everything will already be on this. But between these two, which gives them an understanding of who we're looking at, a little quick overview, and then as far as a good visual on the actual cost savings, this is all everybody's really walking in with. And they're literally walking in if you need a leave behind. Last week on our marketing strategy, we talked about that gift on step 5. If we got any client right now that's got a hiring sign, I'm walking in holding that, right? Those videos we did this week on Monday, every place you were thinking, gosh, I should send that to them, I'm following up with that thing right there. Huge. So, comments, questions, feedback, anything here from everybody. And there's a lot. Got a couple, I know we got Kent on here saying you guys have been through this a couple times. Bobby was
This
on
is
here.
awesome. Literally,
Yeah.
if you are not talking to every place with a hiring sign about this, you're missing out. I would go to, if you have a color printer at home, print out a ton of these, literally just go drop them off. Text them to people. I downloaded a digital copy. I've already texted out to a couple brokers. That's actually why I was just on the phone a minute ago, because one of my brokers called me and he's like, "What's this all about?" Instantly. Brokers don't even know about this. They don't even, so many people don't know about this tax credit. It's insane. I mean, it's mind-boggling, right? We think about how big companies are never paying taxes. I don't know if Austin mentioned this part, but like you think about, you always see on the news like, oh, Amazon wiggled their way out of paying all these taxes, or Trump's company wiggled his way out of paying out. You know why? Because they're using tax credits like this. This is why. Because they're being smart and they're using the programs that the government has put in place to their advantage. And the little small companies, they don't know about this. They don't know how to do this. They don't know what to do this, and they're missing out. And so this is our opportunity to really help them. Like John Panbury, drop this off 1,000%. Janice, the car dealership, drop this off.
Cut it out, Nikki.
Sorry, I didn't mean to keep interrupting. I thought I was getting in when she was done talking.
Okay.
I was trying to say, so when you say you print it off, which one in particular do you print off?
Those two, right?
Those two.
Again, there's 15 of them, I think, across the board total. But these two, I think, are the easiest ones to drop off as far as basically a quick. Hey, work opportunity tax credit is a federal program that gives employers up to $9,600 in tax credits per employee. Here's the example of what the employees are, and then as far as getting a good visual, then here's hey, you earlier you told me you hired
those. I would even double side those two.
Yeah, right. These two.
And then I would walk in there and I'd say, how many people do you need to hire this year?
Yep.
You need to hire 20 people, and then I'd circle that.
Yep. Do the math, right? Madness, right? So it's a good resource, right? So and I think again though, right, as we think about, is every company a great fit? No. But where we're at in this climate, as we are with everything happening right now, a lot of them are. A lot of them are. And it's crazy, but literally every region and district that I've talked to that have been using this, like Tennessee, as you guys saw this, I don't know if you've seen some of the numbers. Tennessee, literally right now in the entire southeast state, start of the country, they're number one in new accounts.
Now we know why.
And we go, cool. What are you doing? What is the number one reason why you guys are crushing right now? And they literally go, get hired. This point right to get hired. That's why.
Is there any company this 1,000% would not work for, or any type of employee? I don't know if you covered that.
I mean, yeah. I mean, if they're not hiring,
answer. Simple answer, Austin. What type of employee does this not work for?
What type of employee does this not work for? Somebody that has been hired for over 6 months.
1099s. It must be your W-2 employee.
Good one.
There's something to know. Must be a W-2 employee.
That is important. Yep. Has to be W-2 people.
And I just want to make sure there's not a specific industry we cannot talk to them about this, is there?
Nope. The only industry you can't talk to them about is the ones that aren't hiring, because they don't care.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Literally everybody, as long as they're W-2'd employees.
Yep. Makes it really easy for us. Yep. Nothing, I mean.
I have a question as well. Can it be an employee that's previously worked for that company?
As long as they have not worked for them in the last, I think it's 2 years or something. So they can't fire someone and then hire them right back. But if they leave their job for a while and they're truly like, if they got furloughed last year, let's say, and they went on unemployment, they can bring them back this year because they've been on unemployment for an extended period of time.
Yep. Great question.
Can I ask how long is considered an extended period of time? I've never received unemployment, so I don't know.
The number I thought they said was on unemployment was 4 months. So if anybody who's
Depending on
been
how long will depend on how much the tax credit's for. So someone who's been on unemployment for a shorter amount of time may qualify for the minimum, where someone who's been on unemployment for the max 18 months or whatever, they're going to qualify for a higher subsidy usually.
But to keep it simple, if they qualify, minimum it's $2,400 every single time.
Hey, Austin. This Kent. How long do they receive this tax credit? Is this just first year, or is this continuous as long as they're employed?
Continuous on, so this is when you start understanding, how this thing works, and this is why only 25% of these are taken advantage of, because it is not a simple, oh, they hired them, here's $2,400 in your bank account for the company. What the company has to do from there is, as soon as they hire them, the business then has to track how many hours do they work. Okay? As soon as they hit 400 hours, that's when they'll get the full tax credit. If they don't work the full 400 hours, they get a reduced. It basically fits how many hours they work. So that's when, as you start to look at a small business, they're like, holy cow! So not only do I got to hire them, I got to track their hours. I got to know. Dang. And we're like, cool, yeah, all that. We're gonna take care of that. We've got you. We're gonna be able to put the system in place for you all. And they're like, oh, well, that's easy. So yeah, it's all around. Did they hire the right person? How many hours they work? Make sure they're eligible. File the paperwork correctly. Get hired to do all of it for them. Awesome.
So after
And that's
that
why
first
it's literally $400 every time just to file it per person.
Yeah, so after that first year, let's say it hits their year anniversary, do they get the tax credit the next year?
No, because they're higher. They're full time. It's just
Okay,
just to get them in the door. Yep.
gotcha. Okay.
Yep. Yep. So you hire a veteran, they come on, they stick around. Here's $9,600 max. Boom. Thanks so much. He's here for 5 years. There you go. You got a great employee out of it and a nice tax break. And what's thinking about that, right? Like what's wild is, do the math, right? If I'm out there hiring a veteran, and I'm filling a position that's $15 an hour, that's $30,000 a year. This tax credit almost funds a third of it.
I was just doing that math. So what do they pay, like what, 7.5% on payroll taxes or something, right?
Yeah.
Let's say someone makes $25,000 a year. That's a $12 an hour income worker. Pretty average, right? They're making $25,000 a year. And then that person, the company's going to pay, I think it's 7.9% something, which is about $2,000. So
they're covering all the taxes. I mean, for that one new hire who's making, $10-12 an hour.
Yeah.
And so I mean, it's and that's when you start realizing the amount of, again, for some of us, we're like, oh, cool, they get back $2,400. I'm like, yeah, that's a big deal for some of these companies. Right?
It's a huge deal. What if someone took $2,400 off of your taxes? All day long, bring it. And if I hire two, I get $4,800. And if I hire, bring it on.
Yep. So action items for today. What I challenge you to, and we're gonna leave it. This be a nice little segue into what we got. So as I shared a couple of, so we've got a couple tickets for this football game this weekend, right? So it's I know a couple of guys already messaged about it. It was at Alcorn State in South Carolina. Down here they're playing at Georgia State. So we got a couple suite tickets. They took over the entire suite, so it'll be VIP access. So we're going to give out a couple tickets today for most appointments.
Drinks, food. It's super fun. If you've never been to sit at a suite box at any game, they are a blast. Like, you definitely feel like royal treatment. Honestly, I'm not even a huge sports person, but they're so fun to go to. I would eat those tickets up any day. So yeah.
So what I challenge is, hey, today, as we get on the phones here in a little bit, we're going to be leading with, hey, do you, literally I'd be asking them, do you guys have anything in place to help, however, basically pays you to hire people? What are you talking about? We got an awesome service we're funding through our agency right now. This is literally going to put up to $2,400 in your guys' as tax credits just to hire someone. Love to talk to you about it. Okay, right? Think about that. We're excited half the time talking about Aflac because I can say, hey, it doesn't cost you a dime. Now I can go, literally, we'll pay you guys cash to hire people.
Yeah, not only are we saving your company money, but we're also paying you. So you're going to be paid twice by us, and we're going to give you a free service, 2 free services.
Yeah.
I mean, this is like, it's
wow. It really is.
It's crazy. Yeah. Think about all the restaurant. I mean, I'm thinking about literally this restaurant down the block from my house, this on the border Mexican place. We tried to go there for dinner the other night. Pulled up, takeout only because they're understaffed. They can't find enough servers. The melting pot around the corner from my house, they're literally like, Cyan, do you know anybody over 16 years old who wants to come work for us? Like they used to only try to hire older people, but now they're, and Tenley's like, can I get a job? And they're like, yeah, can you pretend you're 16? Because this is how badly we need people. I mean, it's crazy.
And right, you get a small business who's struggling, and they're like, cool, do I hire this person or hire a veteran that's worth $9,000? I probably can afford to give them a little bit higher hourly wage. I know that's coming right back, right? So it really, you start unwrapping this thing. I mean, it does a lot. And if it's helping people that need it more, I mean, honestly, if you get all the doves out there, this is just a way to help us get, people that need help, need assistance back into the workplace more, get them back in there faster. I mean, that's the reality, right? Because let's be honest, right? If I'm an owner and I'm looking at 2 employees that have the same qualities, same backgrounds, very similar, and one's worth $5,000 and one's worth nothing, I know which one I'm going to hire. Right? So that's the reality. And it's helping people that need that assistance, which is awesome. Right? So I think this will be good. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to share this out on GroupMe. I'm going to share these 2 again. So we have that for anything to leave off today. But seriously, go to, again, that the broker's site, punch your name. You're going to get an email back. I mean, Matt approves them real quick, so you should get it on there, literally within the next 15, 20 minutes.
He approved mine while he was talking on a meeting.
Oh, yeah. He's quick.
Like,
He's quick.
So quick. And then literally I opened it up on my phone. I can't even find, oh, here's I screenshotted those two flyers, and I literally just started texting them to people. I'm like, do you know about this? And they're like, no, what's that? I'm like, we can save your people money. Oh, okay. To my broker partners, right? So it's
wow.
Big.
Hey, Austin, you gonna share the recording on GroupMe also?
I'll share it up too. So when we get off here, I'll upload it to YouTube, get it out.
Perfect. Thanks, man.
No problem. Let's stop it. I think we're past the